Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Sophia was the first to express her concern. Is everything okay between you and Mom? It seems like you're drifting apart. I tried to give her a reassuring smile, though she was already 23 and told her everything was fine. But as I said those words, doubt started creeping in. Was everything really okay? I had always trusted Susan, my wife of 27 years, without question. But Sophia wasn't wrong. Something was off. No marriage is perfect, but ours had always seemed solid. At least that's what I thought. However, after Sophia moved out, it felt like Susan and I had lost a part of the closeness we once had. I made a lot of efforts, suggested dinners, weekend trips together, or just spending more time with each other. Her response was always something like, "That sounds great, Reese, but I'm booked for the next few weeks. How about next month?" It seemed like Susan was more involved in her social events, charity functions, and hobbies than in our relationship. She often had lunch or dinner out, without me. And if even Sophia noticed the distance between us, perhaps things were worse than I had imagined. Susan always looked dazzling, stylish, and radiated warmth wherever she went. As for me, I wasn't in bad shape either. Successful career, stable income, and I kept myself fit, even though I was nearing 52. My thoughts drifted back to happier times. I remembered our wedding day. Almost perfect, except for the slightly awkward best man speech, which included some wild stories from my bachelor party. Funnily enough, I don't remember much from that night. But one thing stuck out clearly. At Susan's bachelorette party, there had been a strange moment. Her best friend, Alexander Brown, was there with her and her girlfriends. At the time, I didn't think much of it. They had always been close, and for some reason, I assumed that Alexander might be gay. There had never been any signs of a romantic partner, male or female. They often went out for drinks or lunch together, and though it bothered me a little, I eventually decided to bring it up with Susan. She brushed off my concerns, assuring me there was nothing romantic between them and there never would be. I had no reason not to believe her. Susan always took pride in her honesty and straightforwardness. After our wedding, we moved to a new city for better career opportunities, and life moved on. We both made new friends, and I wasn't opposed to Susan seeing Alexander less frequently, although they continued to keep in touch from time to time. The years passed, and 4 years after the wedding, our daughter Sophia was born, our only child. Susan easily embraced her role as a mother, and it seemed we were both content. But after Sophia moved out, Alexander found a job near our home, and Susan seemed pleased to rekindle her connection with him. Their dinners and meetings became more frequent. Now, I couldn't shake Sophia's words from my mind. She was right. There was a distance between Susan and me. I felt neglected, and Sophia's absence didn't help. Looking at photos of Susan and Alexander on social media didn't bring me peace either. Some comments even asked if Alexander was her husband. Everything reached its peak at Susan's 49th birthday party, which we hosted at our house. That evening, Susan hardly left Alexander's side, laughing and chatting with their mutual friends all night. To an outsider, it might have looked like they were a couple. Even our neighbor, Madison, noticed. She quietly approached me, her face showing concern. "Reese, are you okay? You seem a little distant tonight." I tried to brush it off, but Madison persisted, and eventually I opened up. "Do you think everything is okay between Susan and me?" I asked uncertainly. "I know Alexander is just a friend, but if you and I spent that much time together, wouldn't we become something more?" Madison thought for a moment. "Maybe," she answered cautiously. "Friendships can evolve." Shortly after, Susan approached me, her gaze sharp. "What were you talking about with Madison? And what's this feeling like you're being ignored?" I sighed. "I just said that tonight my wife found time for everyone, except me. We're hosting guests, Reese. I can't be by your side the entire time." "But you weren't with anyone else either," I countered. "You spent the whole evening with Alexander." Her eyes flashed with irritation. "What are you even talking about? You're being ridiculous and childish." "We're just friends. His gender doesn't matter," she insisted firmly. Really? I replied, tension evident in my voice. Because it seems to me there's something more between you two. I can't shake the feeling that you're hiding something else. There's nothing like that, she snapped, irritation flashing in her eyes. You're blowing this out of proportion. She spun on her heel and left without another word. Perfect. Out of all days, I picked her birthday for an argument. Guilt washed over me, but the irritation still gnawed at me. We remained silent for the rest of the evening, and nothing changed in the following week. I tried to apologize, but my words felt hollow. Susan seemed completely unbothered. Then, in one of the rare moments we actually talked, she casually mentioned that Alexander had invited her for the weekend. Was she testing how far she could push it? The fact that I even thought that showed how broken our connection was. When trust is shattered, rebuilding it feels nearly impossible. Are you serious? After everything that's been going on between us, this is your choice? We're just friends who enjoy spending time together. It's not a big deal. I just need a little break, she explained calmly, as if that could make everything right. Really? I muttered bitterly. I suggested plenty of things for us to do, and you rejected every single one of them. But you made time for this, I added, feeling the irritation grow. When are you going to take a break from us? Susan lowered her eyes. We're going next weekend, to Milan. That hit hard. So you've already made up your mind, the city we dreamed about for years, and suddenly you find time. How convenient. Her voice softened as if she were trying to minimize the damage. Reese, I know you don't like it, but it's just a short trip. There's nothing romantic about it. There's nothing intimate between us. You can't dictate who I'm friends with. Honestly, your jealousy is the real issue here. I don't want to control you. I never did, I said, feeling my throat tighten with emotion. But yes, I am jealous. He's getting the best of you, your time, your energy, all of it. You're emotionally attached to him, and now, trips together too. You're misunderstanding everything. We're not dating. I love you, not him, she replied, almost defensively. Do you really love me? I asked, doubting. Because it doesn't feel that way. Do you talk to him about us? About our relationship? She hesitated, clearly flustered. Sometimes. He helps me understand your point of view, helps me think things through. And how's that working out? I said sarcastically. I doubt he sees things the way I do. You're even further away from me now than before. Do you talk to him about our intimate life too? Not really. Just briefly. Come on, Susan. Even you must see that's a line you shouldn't cross. That's personal. You share more with him than you do with me. It feels like you're in a relationship with him, not with me. That's not true, she replied with desperation in her voice. I'm still your wife, but I can't just abandon him. You're already leaving, I said coldly. You made the decision without me. Since when did my opinion stop mattering? You matter, she whispered, but the words felt hollow. No, what matters is you and Alexander, not me, I said. As the date of her departure approached, it seemed like even she started having doubts, but her resolve didn't waver. By the time she left that Friday morning, I was relieved to be at work, avoiding the awkward goodbye. Later, all I received was a simple message. A brief, impersonal farewell. I love you, and every moment we spend together is priceless to me. I'll be back before you even notice I'm gone. I'll call you later. Those were my last words to her, but when she left, a storm of emotions overwhelmed me. I hesitated, unsure whether I should go to a bar to drown out the noise in my head or visit my sister Tracy. We often argue, but when things get serious, she's always ready to defend me, even if it means redirecting her anger towards Susan for my sake. In the end, I did neither. Instead, I stayed home, alone with my thoughts, letting the silence seep into my mind as I reflected on the state of our marriage. Decisions had to be made. I knew it couldn't go on like this. That evening, Susan called. I almost didn't answer, but I picked up, trying to speak in a steady voice. Hello? Hi, dear. We arrived safely and the hotel is just amazing. I just wanted to let you know, she said warmly. Thank you for telling me, I replied, feeling my voice turn indifferent. At least now I know you're okay, I added after a pause. She continued, "Today we'll spend the day exploring the city." "Sounds like you're having fun," I mumbled, feeling the sting of her visiting places we once dreamed of going together. "I'll make a wish for us to come here together someday," she said, trying to lift my spirits. "It won't be the same now, Susan," I quietly said. "This was something we were supposed to experience together." "Please, Reese, don't start another argument," she sighed. "I regret how things have turned out, and I'm sorry I left the way I did. But I can't stop thinking about you. I promise, nothing is happening between us. Nothing inappropriate." Her words sounded as if she were speaking to a child. "But you're still in another country with another man, Susan. That means something," I threw back. Her voice grew irritated. "You're just impossible." And then the call ended. Loneliness engulfed me. Saturday night passed with no further calls. Social media offered no relief. Milan looked enchanting, and scrolling through those posts only worsened my mood. Some of our relatives even asked where I was, and the answer was always the same: out with friends for the weekend. Sophia, my daughter, saw the posts and called, shocked when I confirmed her mother was indeed in Milan with another man. I told her about my conversation with Susan, explaining how her mother had planned the trip despite my feelings. Upset, Sophia wanted to talk to her, but I insisted she stay out of it. "It's complicated, Sophia," I said. "Your mother thinks I'm just being overly suspicious, that I'm making a big deal out of nothing." Sophia hesitated. "But Dad, maybe she's right. She's allowed to have friends. People travel with friends. Are you sure you're not just overreacting?" I struggled to keep my frustration in check. "Sophia, please, don't get involved. There's more going on here than you or your mother understand." When Susan returned home on Sunday, she tried to hug and kiss me, but I didn't respond warmly. I didn't push her away, but my reaction was cold, distant. We tried to talk, but the words didn't flow naturally. Everything felt strained. Conversations that once were easy and light had now turned into a battle. She looked as awkward as I felt. "I'm sorry I didn't call yesterday. I was so down. I hate that we keep fighting. I missed you more than I can express, but I had every right to go on this trip. We need to have a serious talk, Reese, to figure out where we stand." "Talk? Or are you just trying to make me see things from your perspective?" I asked bitterly. "What if I decided to go with Madison for a weekend to the Caribbean? How would you feel about that?" Her expression showed I'd surprised her. "That's not the same. Madison is divorced." "And Alexander is single," I noted. "So what? Madison has feelings for you," she retorted. "Are you saying Alexander doesn't have feelings for you?" I pressed, watching her discomfort. "Has he ever told you he's in love with you?" She looked shocked. "What? No, we've never even thought about something like that." But there was uncertainty in her eyes. "But you know he loves you, don't you?" Riz stared at her intently, his voice tense. "You understand what I'm saying, right? The way he pays attention to you, how he listens. There's clearly more going on than you're admitting." His words hung in the air, filled with unspoken truths. "That's why I can't just let this go. Think about it. Feeling something for someone for so long, knowing it will never grow into anything more. You can't keep both of us in your life, Susan," he added, his tone even but tinged with frustration. "If you keep him around, you're just holding on to the past. Who knows? Maybe this weekend he'll meet some charming woman and you'll be left clinging to him. It's affecting us. Right now, I feel like you're pushing me away." "We've always been independent, strong people, Riz," Susan responded softly, but there was a defensive edge to her voice. "We've never relied on each other for everything." But her answer barely touched the growing irritation inside him. He sighed bitterly, his thoughts spilling out in a surge of resentment. "I can't accept that the woman who should care about me the most is putting her friend first. You spend so much energy on everyone else, especially Alexander and your girlfriends, and there's nothing left for us." When he showed up at our door and asked to come in, I was shocked. "She's not here, Riz," he said when Alexander arrived at their doorstep. "She's at work." "I know," Alexander replied calmly. "I came to see you." Riz's suspicions deepened. "Of course, you're her confidant. I suppose you know everything we've been talking about." She's my friend, Alexander said, trying to be reassuring. You don't have to worry. If I were a woman, we wouldn't be having this conversation. His voice was steady, but Riz felt there was something more beneath the surface. Don't fool yourself. Even if you think it means nothing, it's still a problem if we're drifting apart and no longer sharing our lives. Riz finally asked the question that had been tormenting him. What do you two talk about? Alexander shrugged slightly. Oh, everything. Ideas, thoughts, plans, hopes. All of that, huh? Riz's voice dripped with sarcasm. And probably a lot more too. Silence settled between them as Riz tried to process what had been said. That's what I miss, he finally admitted. We used to talk like that. Now it's all about the house, bills, family matters. Alexander listened quietly before noting, You still seem to have a good time when you go out for dinner or lunch together. Riz nodded. Yes, of course, I enjoy her company, but it's supposed to be fun. Do you know how many times I've tried to organize something romantic for her? But now it feels like I've lost the woman I used to dream about. Alexander paused, letting Riz's words sink in. Finally, Riz shook his head. You have a better connection with her than I do. Riz, Alexander urged, just talk to her. Tell her how you really feel. She loves you. You know that. I've tried. Riz's voice was full of frustration. But she always reduces it to jealousy or control. She thinks I'm obsessed with sex or trying to dominate her. It hasn't helped. She's already gone. Don't say that, Alexander insisted. Susan would be devastated if she knew you felt this way. She truly loves you. Riz let out a bitter laugh. I never thought it was this bad. I always thought it was just me being paranoid. Trying to help, Alexander suggested, I could stop seeing her if that would help. I don't want to cause problems between you. Riz looked at him with a mix of gratitude and disappointment. That's a generous offer, especially considering how much you care about her. But you'd be giving up something she doesn't even want to change. She chooses you every time. The reality of their situation hung over them like a heavy weight, impossible to ignore. You're a better friend to her than she is a wife to me, Riz said quietly, but the truth was undeniable. After that, he walked Alexander to the door, his patience worn thin. And Alexander, he added with a final warning, don't come here again. Next time I won't be so polite. Later that evening, Susan approached Riz, her expression serious. Alexander said he came to talk to you, she began cautiously. He didn't mean to upset you. If he had known, he wouldn't have suggested that trip. He admitted he takes up too much of my time. Riz's face darkened. So you told him everything we talked about, huh? And then what? You met with him today to discuss it all after our conversation? Now do you understand why I feel like a stranger in my own marriage? But Susan saw things differently. She continued, still focused on Alexander, unaware of the growing rift between them. When I tried to suggest that over time you might be able to overcome this, Alexander dismissed my words as nonsense, reminding me how much I relied on you. Funny, isn't it? How his words seem to carry more weight than mine. But is it really surprising? Susan continued in a sharp tone. No one, including you, has the right to dictate my decisions. I'm not denying that I've been lost lately with my priorities scattered, but there's nothing appealing or romantic about that. If I truly believed you were having an affair with him, I wouldn't have hesitated to throw you out of the house. And yet, here we are, without proof of any physical infidelity, and you still place him above us. He may be your best friend, but to me, he is no one, and it's tearing us apart. Just look at where we are now, Susan. What you really need to ask yourself is, why aren't you with him? You always seem happier when you're together, barely noticing my presence. Before that trip with him, everything was only about what the two of you wanted with no regard for my feelings. This isn't love, Susan. It's blatant disrespect. I'm sorry. I really do love and respect you, but you always seemed so unshakable, so reliable. But that's not the full picture, Susan. What we had was a source of strength for me. We were supposed to be a team, supporting each other. Here's a challenge for you. How about not mentioning this conversation to Alexander, though I'm sure he'll ask? Forget it. I've had enough. How about you start showing some respect for our relationship by putting it above your friendship with him? It shouldn't be that hard, Susan. There are 3 of us in this, and I'm tired of being the perpetual outsider. Do you enjoy having 2 men fight for your attention, while the one who truly loves you is left on the sidelines? Well, I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm going to Tracy's. I've been having a great time with her. I can't even remember the last time I felt so understood and cared for. It's the complete opposite of how our marriage has felt lately. We made memories, laughed, drank together. It was the escape I needed. Spending time with my nieces and nephews, watching them grow and explore the world, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. Susan continued to write almost every day, asking when I'd return, clearly confused but trying to keep it together. She began to regret letting everything fall apart and gradually started to see things from my perspective. Sophia, on the other hand, was furious when she found out I'd moved out. Her mother would call her constantly, crying, begging me to come back home. I agreed to meet Sophia for dinner to explain the situation. We chose a nice restaurant, only to find Susan and Alexander already seated together, laughing as if nothing had happened. The moment we saw them, I considered turning around, but Sophia wasn't having it. She stormed over to their table. "How could you?" she demanded. "You call me on the phone crying about how hard it is without Dad, and now here you are laughing with him." Sophia's words hit like a slap. Susan and Alexander froze, her face turning red with shame, while I stood back, calmly watching the scene unfold. But Sophia wasn't done. "I don't blame him for leaving you. You're selfish and completely self-absorbed." Then she turned her fury on Alexander. "And you? What do you think you're doing, trailing after a married woman for years like some pathetic puppy? Grow up and get a life. Don't you see she's just using you to stroke her ego? She doesn't even need to sleep with you to keep you on a short leash." Finally, Sophia turned to me. "Let's go." There was no need for me to say anything. I simply nodded and followed her, leaving Susan, Alexander, and the entire restaurant in stunned silence. I knew this moment was inevitable. Sophia barely made it to the car before breaking down in tears, and I helped her into the passenger seat. It took her a few moments to gather her strength and speak. "I'm sorry, Dad. You were right from the start. I just can't believe she could do that." A week later, Susan stared at her daughter in confusion, still trying to process what was happening. "What are you saying? Your father went to the Caribbean with Madison?" Her voice trembled. "Yes, Mom. And you know what? Maybe you were right all along. If it's okay for you to date someone, why shouldn't Dad have a girlfriend too?" "No," Susan said, shaking her head firmly. "That's not how it works. He can't. He promised me. He was supposed to go with me." "Well, he did say something about it," her daughter responded, "but you were too busy to notice." "We're still married," Susan snapped, anger rising in her. "He can't just take some woman and go on a trip with her. It's wrong." "Mom, calm down. It's not what you think. They're just friends." Her daughter sighed. "I understand where you're coming from, but it's different. She's not trying to win him over." She paused, and then asked quietly, "And honestly, why does it bother you so much now? You've kept your distance from Dad for so long, focusing on everything but him." "That's not what I meant," Susan mumbled quietly, her tone softening. "It's just, he was always there, even when I wasn't trying." "Maybe that's the problem," her daughter replied sharply. "Maybe you should start trying, and soon. This trip might be innocent now, but if you keep pushing him away, things will change. There are plenty of women who wouldn't hesitate to get closer to Dad." Her words struck like a blow, leaving Susan speechless, too stunned to respond to her daughter's blunt honesty. Meanwhile, Reese wondered how things had come to this. Madison had supported the plan from the start, the plan originally suggested by Sophia. It was Sophia who thought they needed a break, and Madison had agreed. This trip was a last attempt before a possible divorce. It was simple. 2 friends exploring new places. Madison was easygoing, lighthearted, with a good sense of humor, like a breath of fresh air. During the trip, her optimism became a real comfort to him. She reminded him of what he had been missing with Susan. Yet he was surprised when Susan showed up at the airport upon their return. He had expected an argument, anger, or accusations. But instead, Susan greeted Madison with unexpected politeness, catching both him and Madison off guard. "Madison, Reese began cautiously. Could you leave Susan and me for a moment? Maybe grab a coffee while we talk. We'll go home together afterward. Madison smiled at Susan, wished her well, and left, leaving Reese and Susan alone in the quiet, nearly empty airport waiting area. I'm sorry, Reese, Susan said softly. I never really understood how much I hurt you. I missed you, more than I could have imagined. Reese didn't know how to respond. Lately, Alexander had been going through a similar crisis with Sophia, forcing Reese to confront uncomfortable truths in his own marriage. I wanted you to pay attention to me, Reese, Susan admitted, her voice barely audible. But instead I pushed you away, and now I see how wrong that was. I was terrified that our marriage, our friendship, was over. Reese sighed, his emotions feeling distant. This doesn't fix everything, Susan. You've put others before me for too long. But I care about you, she said, her voice trembling. I love you. For a moment, Reese almost told her he loved her too, out of habit. But something stopped him. Was that love still there? That deep connection had felt lost for so long. Susan's face darkened, her eyes widening with fear as she sensed his hesitation. Please, Reese, she pleaded. Give me another chance. We've been married for 27 years. We can't throw all of that away because of some friendship. It's not just about that, Reese said, shaking his head. It's about respect, trust, and being a priority. You've been putting me second for years, Susan. I don't know if I can keep living like this. Tears welled up in Susan's eyes. I've messed everything up. I took you for granted, thinking you'd always be there. That trip to Milan, I convinced myself that you were just jealous, trying to control me, but I was wrong. I wanted to prove I didn't need you. But how can you call it independence? Reese replied with quiet sadness. If you've spent so much time depending on someone else. Her anxiety was evident, and her words sounded nervous, as if she was desperately trying to find the right arguments to convince me. Please, just give me a month. I'll show you. I'll prove it. I know you don't trust me right now, and I understand that. So let me prove my point. Just 1 month. That's all I'm asking for. She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts, then continued. And if everything goes well, if you're happy, we can continue. We can extend it for another month. There was an undeniable desperation in her voice, but despite the hurriedness of her words, there was something sincere in her plea. Against my better judgment, I gave in. Though my expectations were low, I couldn't understand how she could change so drastically. No, Susan, it's over between us. I've realized I've wasted my years on the wrong woman. Madison is the one with whom I feel calm and at peace. I'm filing for divorce. Besides, I have proof that you cheated on me during your trip to Milan with Alexander. What? You were spying on me? Goodbye, Susan. I'm going to take everything away from you. While you were having fun with Alexander, you forgot about our prenuptial agreement. And one more thing. I know that Sophia is not my biological child. You and your lover are in for huge problems. Oh, no, no! Susan screamed after me. It was over. The traitors were facing legal battles, and I moved in with Madison, hoping for a happy future. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.